Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we are continuing our ongoing discussion about the ongoing conflict between Serbia and Serbia's separated region of Kosovo. And I wanted to try and compare, contrast, and provide an analogy for United States observers to try and understand what's happening and why this situation is so sensitive for Serbia in regards to what is happening in Kosovo. So obviously everyone understands what happened way back in the 90s, and now there is a NATO peacekeeping force that is stationed in Kosovo, which really right now prevents any sort of Serbian military moves into Kosovo. Now, is the existing force construct something that could possibly prevent the Serbian armed forces from entering Kosovo? Probably not. The meat and potatoes of that K-force is it's called the Tactical Reserve Battalion. It's provided by the Hungarian army at this point. So the concept that K-force would provide active resistance against some sort of Serbian operation into northern Kosovo is probably something that we wouldn't see. We'd probably see those forces back off. But then obviously, then what would happen? Would NATO bring in air power and start targeting some of these Serbian forces as they moved into Kosovo? And the Serbian military has rebuilt itself, and it is a very, very capable armed forces. It is probably more capable now, not probably, it is more capable now and more professional than we observed back in the 1990s. But how, as we Americans, could we look at what is happening and try to compare it to something that could possibly happen inside of the United States? So let's go over to the United States and visit the state of Texas. So at one point, as we know, Tejas was part of the Empire of Mexico. And some persons in Mexico still believe that they have claims on Tejas. And the ethnic population of Texas right now is a mixed bag of white Anglo-Saxon Americans. You also have African Americans living in some of the larger inner cities such as Houston, but there are a lot of Mexican Americans living in Texas. And let's hypothetically say 20 years from now something happens inside of the United States. We continue to see the demographic gap starting to change in Texas, and at some point there's some sort of national conflagration, and we see fighting between Latinos in Texas against Anglo-Saxon, Caucasian Americans in Texas. And then at some point, because of the change in demographics in Texas, Texas decides to break away from the United States and gravitate more towards Mexico. What would the United States do? Would the United States allow Texas to separate from the United States and gravitate more towards Mexico? Would we allow that? AKA Kosovo, Albania. Okay? Probably not. Even though there is a demographic change happening in Texas, more Latinos versus white, there is still a significant Anglo-Saxon population in Texas, and there is also a population they're basically they're Latinos, but they definitely look more towards the United States than Mexico. So there is an organization called La Raza, and those people of Mexican descent do not support La Raza. They don't support Mexico. They are fervent Americans. And that creates another dynamic to this issue that could happen in the future in Texas. But ultimately, many states inside of the United States would probably not be okay with Texas separating and becoming part of Mexico. And I know this is a crazy analogy, and it's something that's not even on many folks' radar, but if it did occur, and the feelings that the feelings of resentment and the feelings that we are not going to allow this to happen in parts of both American society and even Texas society would not allow that to happen. There would be obviously an active war, and then would we then accept, say, the United Nations coming in and then declaring that Texas can now separate from the United States, and for all intents and purposes it can become part of Mexico? Well, I got to tell you, there would probably be a vicious war that would ensue, and we would not allow it. That is, again, it is an analogy, and it's not a complete analogy in what happened in Kosovo, but that gives you, the viewer, kind of an idea of, especially here in the United States, maybe how you would feel in regards to Texas gravitating more towards Mexico, separating from the United States, especially if you're, say, a conservative white American living in Dallas or Odessa or Lubbock or Amarillo, down in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, look, Corpus Christi. You're not going to want that to happen, and you would fight against that from happening because you would not want to be part of Mexico. But La Raza and some of these other nationalistic Latino organizations are totally for that, and have even hinted to taking up arms at some point. But again, that's exactly what happened in terms of Kosovo and Serbia. So a lot of Serbians obviously have different feelings than the people living, the Albanian Muslims in Kosovo have in regards to what has happened. And unfortunately, this nation-building process with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization intervening on behalf of Albania, and in large part with direct support from good old NATO member Turkey, who probably is the root cause of a lot of this, has kind of created this issue. But again, just something I wanted to talk about and try to have you, if you were an American not familiar with what happened, try to understand if that were to happen inside the United States, and how you would feel in terms of how the Serbians feel in regards to this issue. And again, going back to thank Texas separating from the United States and gravitating more towards Mexico at some point, and having some international organization declare that to be the case, and intervening in the internal body politic of the United States. And it could happen. That'll do it. Again, hope provided some insight. I'm sure this is going to provide some very interesting commentary. I look forward to it. Have a good day.